Hello, everyone. I'm Carol Fleck, and on behalf of the ADDitude team, I'm pleased to welcome you to today's ADHD Experts presentation titled Conscious Dating with ADHD, How to Avoid Toxic Relationships and Find Your Ideal Match. Leading today's presentation is Amie Leadingham. Amie is a Master Certified Relationship Coach. She was named one of LA's best dating coaches and has been featured in a variety of media outlets. Her mission is to empower singles to heal from past experiences, build self-confidence, and find a lasting connection. In today's webinar, we'll discuss some of the pitfalls of online dating and how to avoid them. We'll also learn why our ADHD traits can sometimes lead us to prospects who aren't exactly ideal partners. Amie will also introduce us to what is known as mindful, conscious dating. We'd like to begin today's webinar by asking this poll question to our live audience. What are your biggest challenges in dating? Please select your answers and comment in the text box under the video player to tell us more. For answers to common webinar questions about slides, transcripts, and certificates of attendance, click on the FAQ tab of your webinar screen. If you support the work we're doing here at ADDitude to strengthen the ADHD community, we encourage you to visit ADDitudemag.com/subscribe and sign up for ADDitude magazine. Sign up today and receive our new winter issue. Leading ADHD experts give advice on how to design a job to fit your ADHD brain. And we share tips to outsmart procrastination. Plus, a clinician explains new approaches to better screen for and diagnose autism in adults and girls with ADHD. And a psychologist shares her proven strategies to manage intense emotions. So sign up for ADDitude magazine today for yourself or to share with a teacher or a loved one who could benefit from greater ADHD understanding. Click the magazine tab on screen to learn more. Finally, the sponsor of this webinar is Inflow. Managing relationships with ADHD can be challenging, and advice like just communicate better or just be more organized often falls short. That's why Inflow was created. Inflow is a tool to help you navigate relationships while living with ADHD. Developed by leading ADHD clinicians, Inflow uses science-backed principles to help you better understand your ADHD, improve communication, and strengthen your connection with others. Click the link on screen to take Inflow's ADHD self-assessment today and kick off your Inflow journey. ADDitude thanks our sponsors for supporting our webinars. Sponsorship has no influence on speaker selection or webinar content. So without further ado, I'm so pleased to welcome Amie Leadingham. Thank you so much for joining us today and for leading this discussion.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for the awesome introduction. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to share my story and also give you a lot of tips on online dating, how to be mindful. And honestly, before I became a dating coach, I struggled with dating. My compass for choosing prospective partners was way off. And I got to tell you, when it came to dating, I made it my job, and I literally now make it my job, right? But I was online dating, speed dating, matchmaking. I mean, I did everything that you could possibly think out there. And no matter what avenue I tried, for some reason, I kept on attracting players, commitment phobes, people that I would people please and earn love. And I thought that was the way to get them to commit and love me. And instead, I ended up getting rejected, my heart broken. Some of my partners actually cheated on me. And then I graduated to think, well, maybe, just maybe, if I could help somebody and rescue them, they would need me more than I need them. And if I could do that, then they would love me more than I, would love them. And it wouldn't be as painful, right? And that ended horribly because nobody wants to be, loved and fixed, right? So there was so much resentment and anger between me and my partners when I did that. And so those relationships ended. And then eventually I got to the point where I was like, well, maybe I should date someone that likes me more than I like them. Like they're chasing me, they're choosing me, they're, telling me that they like me and I'm the one. And I'd end up settling for people that weren't really a good fit. I'd end up settling for people that were emotionally unavailable, that couldn't meet my needs. And I'd get so frustrated that I'd end up single again. And at that point, I'm sure you may relate to this. I said to myself, I'm not dating. I gave up on dating. I just don't even want to try. And then loneliness would set in, and I would feel sad that I didn't have a partner. And then I'd go back out and put myself out there again. And the cycle would continue over and over and over again. Not until I decided to go, hey, wait a minute. There is a pattern here. All of these partners are emotionally unavailable. Why do I keep picking them? What is going on with me? And so I started to self-reflect. And I had to admit, relationship skills are not taught in schools. And I didn't have the best role models when it came to love, right? I love my parents, and they have generational trauma when it comes to love. And they were kids having kids. They had no idea how to function, have healthy relationship skills. And all I saw was conflict after conflict, and never a resolution. And they kept saying that they actually loved each other, yet their actions didn't match, right? So I interpreted that what love was hard, the love was dysfunctional, love was chaos. And so that made me tolerate a lot of behaviors when I saw that in my own relationships. So the other thing that I did is I reached out to look at, well, what does good look like in a relationship? Unfortunately, in society, what good looks like is what's good on paper. They're attractive, they have a good job, there's chemistry, a lot of the superficial stuff. I didn't know true values, true, characteristics to look out for in a partner. Instead, I was basing it on what was good on paper, and that wasn't good enough, right? And then I would look at television, media, movies as an influence. And how many of you watch rom-coms? I do. And I see the unavailable partner being chased by somebody that really wants them and loves them. And eventually at the end of the movie, they win them over. So that made me interpret love as I need to work hard to earn, chase, and please to get someone's attention. And finally, my influences around my friendships, they struggled with dating. They went from divorce, from relationship after relationship, and they were not good relationships. So I was looking around going, well, this means relationships are just difficult and dysfunctional, and this is how it's supposed to be. And so I really, really believe that. And that is what brought in all those emotionally unavailable partners. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, I'm the common denominator in this relationship. If I want something to change, I need to do the work on myself. And that's what I did. I took a break from dating and I started working on myself. And I spent months and months going to therapy, going to relationship workshops, seminars, group coaching, reading books, just like what you're doing today. And I wanted to understand my patterns, what were the negative habits that I was doing in order to draw in these type of partners. Once I got clear about myself, who I was, what my non-negotiables were in relationships, what I was looking for, I was much more mindful in dating. And so I decided, I think I'm ready. And I returned to dating. And I put myself back out there online after years and years of struggling online, right? I put myself back out there, and within months, I met my husband. And I was so intentional. I had a list in my head. I had questions to ask. I was, being much more selective rather than going for just the chemistry connection. And because of that, I found someone that was emotionally safe, someone that met my needs and my requirements in a relationship, somebody that even when we go through conflict, they don't abandon me. They actually stand up and want to fight for our relationship. That's when I knew, I was like, this is the one. So everything I'm going to share with you today is what I've learned, what I struggled with, even the online dating process, right? And how to go from online to being more mindful, choosing a partner and not letting, the chemistry connection just lead the way and have it fizzle out quickly. Because you deserve love. You deserve this. And if I can do this, you can absolutely do this. Okay. So let's talk about online dating stats. I will share with you. It's exciting to hear this because 50% of couples are meeting online these days. It used to be taboo to date online, not anymore. It is actually a great way to connect. You can be very intentional with online dating. And don't get me wrong, I still believe in meeting people the old-fashioned way too. However, it's always beneficial to have that online dating app running in the background, searching for people for you, and cast a wide net and allow you to have more opportunities, right? 60% of same-sex relationships start online. And then 46% of Americans 18 years and older are unmarried. That means there's roughly 117.6 million singles out there. So that story that we hear, the limiting belief of there's nobody out there, all the good ones are taken, that's not true, right? It has a lot to do with our picker and how we're choosing people, how we're engaging people in the dating process. So as you learn to be more mindful, you will attract somebody of quality, somebody that can be emotionally available for you. Now, don't get me wrong. When it comes to online dating, there are some challenges, and even dating in general, and especially when you have ADHD, right? There are things like impulsivity, where you might jump into a relationship so quickly and you're excited, and then it fizzles out very quickly and you find yourself heartbroken. You might be struggling with the novelty and excitement of relationships. So you jump from relationship to relationship to relationship. As soon as the honeymoon phase is over, all of a sudden you're on to the next one. And you're never really creating that deep and meaningful connection that you're looking for, even though you really, really want it. Or you might engage in risk-taking behavior where somebody might feel exciting, adventurous. However, they're doing things that are kind of dangerous. They're crossing boundaries. They're not listening to you. They're not meeting your needs, yet you find yourself drawn to this person, right? Or you might be struggling with strong emotions, especially when it comes to rejection, right? Feeling that, it's catastrophic. It's like you can't survive it. These challenges are real, and I hear you and I see you, and I want you to know we're going to work through today how to cope with these challenges and move through them so that you can find somebody that can actually meet your needs and love you the way you deserve. So I want to start with online dating intelligence. I think it's really important to understand the psychology of online dating. Most of us wing it. We put our dating profile on and we're like, okay, I'm ready to date. However, we don't realize your online dating profile is an actual marketing ad. So you have to put a lot of effort in there. And most of us don't realize we need to tell a story about ourselves. And our first impression are our photos, right? So to tell the story, you need to make sure your photos tell a story. It's not about just how attractive you are and how handsome you are. It's not about just looks. It's about the depth that you bring in the stories in those photos. For example, when you do your headshot, make sure you smile, right? In all your photos, because it's been shown that people that smile in their photos, they get more swipes and matches, right? Also, having a full body photo is very important. That's also been shown to get more swipes and matches. It's important that you're not revealing or inappropriate in the way you present yourself. I would put a full body photo of you, maybe wearing something that you would wear on a date night, right? And represent yourself in a way that's genuine and authentic. And then have 3 lifestyle photo shots. These photos are so important. I had a client meet her husband this way. She went to a specific college and she wore the college hat in her photo. And he reached out to her and asked her, about that. And they found out they went to the same college. So it's a great conversation piece. Hobbies and interests, like if you like kayaking, you like hiking, it doesn't even have to be a photo of you directly posing. It could be an action shot where you're walking and maybe have a friend take a photo of you, in a hiking trail, kind of walking and getting a side angle. And all these photos do is create a story and a narrative about who you are outside of your photos, right? Tell me a story so that I can connect as a reader and say, hey, this is something I do too. This is how I can write her or him and connect with them. The other thing that's really important that most singles don't do online is write a bio. The algorithms use the keywords in your bio to match you. So if you leave it empty and you don't say a word, you're losing expensive real estate there. So make sure you write something about who you are, what you want, and give an experience of what you're about. And don't write something more than 200 words, because when you write something too long, the goal is, honestly, most people, when they read the profiles, they're scanning. When you're writing too much, it's overwhelming, okay? And the goal is to meet you in person and actually get to know you and learn about you slowly through the dating profile, but not know everything about you up front, because then you'll go to the date and have nothing to talk about. And don't write too little either, because it's important that you share yourself in a way that's authentic and genuine. So when it comes to a good profile versus one that's not so great, right? We kind of want to understand the differences. Read between the lines. So I have 2 profiles here. I have a bad profile on the left where Curdy looks really exciting, adventurous. This is one of his core values: love, adventure, and kindness. And when I read his bio, it just says, I'll know I'm dating an adult when we can lay in bed in our underwear, laugh about everything, or just go spend some money. That sounds like a person there's a lot of risk taking there, not a lot of, depth, not looking for some real relationship. And it doesn't sound very adult, right? In what they're saying. And does it match with the word love? Does it match with the word kindness? I don't know. I'm kind of reading between the lines going, this person is probably not the type of person that I would want to engage or date. Looking over on the right profile, it says, my friends would say that I'm a little old-fashioned. I still believe in opening doors and being a gentleman. I'm attracted to someone who's considerate and thinks of others. He's genuine in nature, or she's genuine in nature, an old soul that is emotionally grounded, someone who exudes quiet confidence. On the weekends, I enjoy trying new restaurants, hanging out with my family. I'm close with them, working out, or just relaxing at home. My career is demanding, so quiet time is always welcome. If you're looking for someone that's loyal, ambitious, witty, dependable, then you found your man. Write me and let's see where this goes. So to help you read between the lines, here's what makes this profile so good. He's listing off his values. He's old-fashioned. He's a gentleman. He's saying that he opens doors. He also lists what he's looking for. And what I see in profiles that are out there, very few people write what they're looking for. They talk about themselves a lot, but they don't talk about what's important to them. And your online dating profiles actually target marketing, right? Trying to find that ideal partner. So you need to write what you're looking for as well. So someone that's considerate, thinks of others, genuine nature, old soul, emotionally grounded, exudes quiet confidence. If I'm reading that, I'm going to be like, that sounds like me. That sounds like me, right? So you can see where a person can engage and look at it and connect to those values. Then he talks about what he enjoys doing on the weekend. This allows a person to experience what it's like to hang out with you. So make sure you write that out. And then he closes with loyal, ambitious, witty, dependable. He's talking about his core values. And then he closes with a call to action. Write me and let's see where this goes. This is a very powerful profile. It's clear. It encompasses all the values of what he is and what he's looking for. So definitely put your effort in your dating profile, and it will help. And I want you to understand, when you're online dating, it's not about attracting the masses. You want to attract 10% of the people online and repel the rest, right? Because your ideal partner is going to be aligned with your values, not just your looks. So what happens once you make a connection, right? You message each other and you're excited and you want to meet. Now, if you struggle with impulsivity, right, you might get excited when somebody goes, why don't we hang out at each other's place? Why don't we watch a movie and Netflix and chill? Why don't we go on a date right now? I want you to know boundaries are very important, and it's important for your safety, and it's important for you to set the tone on how people treat you. And what I mean by that is, number one, you deserve a date. Don't be going on last minute dates. Assert yourself and say, hey, I'm not available today, but if you'd like to make a date, here's my schedule next week. And I want you to meet people in a public area. Just because you've chatted with them and you've built a connection and it feels so real, right? It doesn't mean that's who they are. You're learning about a persona, and you see their profile, what they say they are, but you don't know who they really are. And I want you to know, even for myself, I didn't let my husband come to my house until maybe the 5th date. And I just kept checking in with myself. I said, you know what? Do I feel emotionally safe with this guy? Do I feel safe with this guy? And if I don't feel like I'm ready, I need to honor that and let him know that. So I focus on choosing the speed at where the relationship went. So meet in the public area. Do not provide any personal information. It is your safety. And I really want you to hone in on that. Okay. So don't show your license and all that stuff. Just make sure that you protect your privacy until you really trust somebody. And it's important for you to know that it's a meetup, not just a date, okay? Because people, when we go online dating, we think it's a dating site. So we just assume that people all have the intention of a serious relationship. And it's not always the case. So we want to look at it as a meetup. So it takes the pressure off. And our goal is to meet the person to see if there's chemistry, there's connection, if they say who they really are. And after that first meetup, the second time you actually schedule a hangout or a date, that's actually your first date. Think of it that way. And keep the first meeting 1 hour or less. Keep it to coffee or drinks, right? Because you don't want your first time meeting to be 4 hours and you feel obligated to hang out with this person at dinner and you're not really even into this person. So keep it 1 hour. And if you're going to have drinks, max 2, 1 if possible, because our goal is to have you be present, paying attention, and being intentional with dating. Like, you're there to screen person to make sure they're a good fit for you. And you need to be present in order to do that. And be the chooser. And when I say be the chooser, I mean, have some of your non-negotiables in your back pocket. Do you want a family? Is that very important to you? Do you want, to make sure that you are dating somebody that has the same faith? Is that important to you? Screen those non-negotiables up front on that first date to see if they're in alignment. If they're not, don't waste your time. You have to say no to what you don't want to make room for what you do want. And once you find that there is a connection and you're excited, I want you to also beware of, and this is a red flag, the love bomber. The one thing about the love bomber is there are some people that do it that are manipulative and do it on purpose to create dependency, control. And there are people that are, get excited. And this is a trait of some traits for ADHD is that you get excited, there's novelty, and all of a sudden you lose interest and you move away and find another partner. I want you to know, first off, you need to be compassionate with yourself. You're not doing it in a manipulative, controlling way. So just know that love bombing does really hurt people's feelings. And there's another way to love and show that you're interested in somebody. And I will share that with you in the next couple of slides. So love bombing is excessive flattery and compliments. It's, showering you with gifts often, trying to be exclusive in a relationship too quickly, future planning, calling your person their soulmate when they barely know you. It's just happening too quickly, too fast, right? And there's a big difference between love bombing and genuine interest. Love bombing is this person showering you with all this attention, but they're not actually getting to know you. They're not screening you and observing you and learning about you to see, do you have the characteristics that make you a good fit for the person? They're not getting to know your genuine interest. They're not actually understanding who you are as a person. They're just laying on the compliments. So if you replaced yourself with another person, the behavior would be the same in the love bombing, because their interest is about filling a void rather than actually getting to know you as a whole, as a person, right? So, somebody that's trying to get to know you would say something like, oh my gosh, I'm so impressed that you volunteer and I see how you give back to the community. That is such an attractive trait. That's something that I really connect with. So I just want to let you know that. That's a genuine compliment versus, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, I'm so excited to be with you. There's literally no depth in that compliment, right? Besides flattery. So that's the big difference when you're dealing with genuine interest and love bombing. So one of the ways that you can stop love bombing in its track is by being the chooser. And what do I mean by being the chooser? I mean, you need to know your deal breakers and non-negotiables in a relationship. Usually when I work with clients, it's about 10 to 15 non-negotiables. And it's not someone's height, what car they drive, how attractive they are. It's the core values, the behaviors you need in a relationship in order for you to be happy. For example, you want somebody emotionally available, someone that can express their feelings, that can be vulnerable with you. Or you want somebody that is emotionally mature, right? That can manage conflict with you, even when things are tough. They're not stonewalling you, shutting down. They're not running away. They're actually meeting you and talking calmly through the conflict, right? So those are non-negotiables that you need to pay attention to, and you need to define them. For example, spirituality, it means different things to different people. So you need to define that and ask the person across from you, what's your definition of spirituality? What do you believe in it? And if you are in alignment and this is a non-negotiable, then you're good. But if your definitions don't align, there's going to be a lot of conflict. So it's important for you to know when to say no and walk away if your non-negotiables are not met. So you have to make yourself a priority in this process and come from the stance of, are you a good fit for me? I'm paying attention and observing your actions when I'm vulnerable with you, when I'm honest with you. How do you hold space? Are you ridiculing me? Are you judging me? Are you putting me down? Or are you affirming me? Are you validating me? Are you making me feel seen and heard, right? And you need to require 100% of your non-negotiables. If one of them are missing, the relationship will most likely not work. So don't settle, right? Don't pretend to be something you're not. And I call that the marketing trap, where, you morph into somebody that you're not. Like, so your partner is excited to play tennis, and you don't like tennis, but you're like, oh, I'm excited too. I'm going to play tennis, right? That's not authentic. That's not genuine. And eventually you can't keep that charade going. You're going to be yourself eventually. So you might as well stop people pleasing. Your authenticity is your best attraction tool. That is what's going to help you find and keep somebody that likes you because of who you are. Slow down to speed up. This is a process that I truly believe in, because I feel, and this is something I used to do, I used to jump into relationships very quickly, get really excited, and then it would fizzle in, 3 months, it would fizzle in a year. And I would just go through the cycle over and over again. So when I was intentional, I was like, wait a minute, I got to slow down, and I got to screen for my non-negotiables. I got to pay attention. And then when I finally chose my now husband, my partner, it was long lasting. So it speeds up the relationship, because you've chosen somebody that can actually meet your needs, somebody that can actually show up for you. So here's the mindset that I took. And this is what I think that will help you slow this down, right? Is you're meeting the representative. You're meeting the person that's putting their best foot forward. They're not walking around with a list of their flaws going, this is what you need to be prepared for. You need to be, worried about this. Most of us aren't even aware of our flaws. And our goal is to see, who this person is when they're not trying to impress us, what their genuine nature is. And so give them a 90-day probationary period. Companies do this all the time before they commit and sign somebody on as an employee, because they know that people are trying to impress them, and they want to see those actions and words match. And your goal through these 90 days is to screen for your non-negotiables and listen to them and listen to their answers and see if their actions and words match throughout those 90 days. If you're seeing consistency, then you know that this is a person's character, not them trying to impress you, trying to win you over, trying to manipulate you. Okay? So time is your friend, and recognize you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. You're only seeing the 10% of this person when you first meet them. There's this whole 90%, like their beliefs, their worldviews, their values, their quirks, their flaws, that you haven't lifted to the surface yet. And until you get all that information up there, don't jump into the relationship, right? Slow down and then be intentional in why you're choosing this partner. Don't choose them just because there's a chemistry connection. And I'm not saying that you let go of the chemistry. I'm saying you can have both. And sometimes you'll meet people that are just not a match, and that's absolutely okay. Kindly and firmly end the connection. I want you to focus on treating people the way you want to be treated, right? So it was giving closure. It was nice getting to know you, but I don't think we're a good fit. Maybe your values don't align or your life visions don't align. And it's okay to give closure to someone and let them know that. And I know with ghosting, it feels extremely painful, especially, if you're dealing with, just feeling that you're high sensitivity, right? You have high sensitivity, you feel your feelings very deeply. And so we want to make sure that when you're being ghosted, that you don't blame yourself, that you don't feel, the emotional dysregulation to the point where it feels so catastrophic that you can't move through it, right? So here are some tools that will help you learn how to process your feelings. And one of the things that I share with my clients is that I want you to get to know your parts that feel abandoned, rejected, your parts that feel sensitive, to get to know them and talk to them and journal and let them be heard and be the loving voice that you wanted to hear from whoever that partner is, whoever your parent was. Change the voice to the loving, caring person that you wanted to hear from. And I want you to also recognize that it's not you, it's them. Their inability to be assertive, their inability to give you closure, it tells you that they're not a good fit. Because imagine down the line, if you were with them for 3 months and all of a sudden there was conflict. And if they can't assert themselves or share their feelings or express what's going on, early on in the relationship while you're dating, imagine what will happen 3 months down the line. So you have to realize this acts as a filtering system when people ghost you and they leave. And pay attention to their actions and not their words. A lot of people can promise the world to you. They can tell you everything you want to hear, but when it comes to their actions, that's really the key that shows their character. And again, we're looking for consistency, somebody that shows up for you over and over and over again. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me in this. And I think we're going to open up for Q&A at this time.
Yes. Thank you, Amie, for that informative webinar. We appreciate it. Before we start the Q&A, I'd like to thank Inflow once more for sponsoring this webinar. I'd also like to share the final results from today's poll question. We asked, what are your biggest challenges in dating? 31% said experiencing strong emotions, especially when it comes to rejection. 25% said being impulsive or moving too quickly. 17% said staying interested in my connections, and 15% said choosing people who seem exciting or who are risk takers. Now to your questions. Someone asks, how do you build emotional intelligence in dating? I realize that I don't interpret signals correctly and could use some advice.
Yeah, well, it's important to pay attention to the person's, number one, active listening is really key, is really understanding. Sometimes it's easy to jump to conclusions and make an assumption before you gather all the facts and information. So when you are coming up with an assumption, focus on asking deeper questions and learning and gathering more facts. So you might hear, like I shared, somebody that said, they're spiritual. You want to ask, okay, well, can you tell me a little bit about what that looks like? What does that mean to you? And how does that affect your life? And how do you practice it? So you can get the full picture before you make the conclusion of, understanding this person or making a decision on who this person is.
Okay. We had a lot of questions around this. Should I put that I have ADHD or autism in my profile, or say that I'm in a recovery program for substance use?
When it comes to online dating, it's really important to slow down the process of sharing intimate details. People have to earn their place in order to learn that kind of information, because you don't know if someone's going to judge you, someone's going to be just kind of pass you by online because of that. And obviously we want to repel people that are judgmental, right? However, there is a dance to it. So I would do that in person after dating somebody a couple of times. I would check in with myself and say, do I feel emotionally safe with this person? Can I trust this person? If I share this information with them, that they would actually hear me and understand me? And that's the way I would approach it.
Okay. Someone asks, are there any special considerations for those of us at age 65 plus who are dating online?
Yeah, I would say in terms of, safety, there are a lot of romance scammers that target people that are 65 and plus. They will build an emotional connection online and then ask for money. That's a massive red flag. Make sure that when you're talking to somebody, meet them in person, right? As soon as possible, so that you can take the connection online to offline, and make sure that you vet them, make sure that you feel like they're an honest person. If they start talking about stories about their struggles and they start asking for money, that's a red flag, definitely early on in the relationship.
Someone writes, as a single person with ADHD, I've been in a string of unhealthy relationships due to quickly falling for love bombers who ultimately morph into being emotionally abusive. My ADHD traits have seemingly made me highly susceptible to men with strong narcissistic tendencies. I do not know what a typical start to a healthy relationship even looks like. Can you help me?
Yeah, I totally understand. I used to attract a lot of narcissistic men myself. And one of the things that we talked about earlier is learning how to be the chooser and really slowing it down. Don't let the love bomber control the speed of the relationship. You control the speed of the relationship. You get to slow it down and check in with yourself. Do I feel safe with this person? Do I feel like I know this person enough to trust them and start letting my guard down? If not, you control the speed and slow it down, and make sure you screen for your non-negotiables, and know that you have to change the idea of the dopamine hit of I'm excited, this is, this feels so good, to I need to get the dopamine hit from this person meets my needs, my non-negotiables, and they are emotionally safe. That is my new idea of somebody that is worth investing in.
Along those lines, somebody says, when I first meet someone, how can I tell if my excitement comes from a dopamine hit or from a real connection? How do you distinguish between that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's chemistry in my mind. There's chemistry versus attraction. Chemistry has a shelf life, right? It's like usually it can last up to 18 to 24 months, your chemicals and hormones pumping out of your body. However, I see it lasts usually around 3 to 5 months for most people. And just know that, that's a chemical reaction. Attraction is something that can grow, and it grows from, feeling emotionally safe, being seen, where two people are getting to know each other and observing how they support each other through their values, their character, and their beliefs. So attraction can build in just an intense feeling of emotional safety. And that's a big difference between chemistry, where it's like an intense feeling of lust and butterflies. It's the big difference.
Someone wrote, my young adult son, I'm sorry, let me start over. My young adult son is introverted and extremely sensitive. He fears rejection, so he doesn't put himself out there. What advice can I offer to help him overcome his fears and make meeting people easier?
When I work with clients that have a tremendous fear of rejection, especially with dating, right? Because you just feel so vulnerable. I actually work with them on getting out and building relationships through community. So I will ask them if they want to volunteer or start, being part of a social club or sports or certain things that get them involved with socializing with other people. And once they take the risk where it's not so much a romantic relationship, but they see that they're taking risk in other areas that are healthy, that connect them in a safe environment, then it builds the confidence for a person to actually move into a romantic realm. So I would find out even though he's introverted, what is it that brings him joy? What sparks joy in him? And then put him into situations with other people that feel similar in the same space, so that he can feel safe as he's going out and putting himself out there.
Okay. Someone wrote, how can we get out of the pattern our parents set for us in terms of conflict with no resolution, based on what you had said earlier about your own experience? How do you get rid of that pattern?
That's a beautiful question. I honestly, what you're doing right now is going to therapy, going to read books, workshops, learning that there's a skill out there that you can learn how to have healthy conflict resolution. I had to learn it myself. I read a lot of books and I was like, okay, I need to approach conflict with vulnerability rather than shutting down and being passive aggressive is what I was modeled, right? So you can learn these skills. And so just adapt a growth mindset and know that there are tools out there that you can educate yourself on so that you can change your habits.
Okay. Someone wrote, because of early trauma, I've avoided relationships and feel like dating is not for me, but I don't like this isolation. How do I get out of it? So, somewhat similar.
Yeah. So, it's heartbreaking when you feel isolated. I would take baby steps. Even, after COVID, all of us struggled with social anxiety and putting ourselves out there again. And it takes an tremendous amount of self-care. So you definitely have to have a self-care routine in the way you speak to yourself, focusing on gratitude, creating a whole self, right? First. So you need to make sure you're grounded and you feel good about yourself first, right? And like it said, speak to yourself kindly as you would speak to somebody you love. There's a book called Self-Compassion from Kristen Neff that's really powerful, that teaches you how to build self-compassion while you're putting yourself out there and taking risks. Then I would slowly put myself out there and doing things, like I said, things that interest you, right? Maybe if you love art and you might do a pottery class just to get out and put yourself into the world again. Maybe you work from home and you need to go out to a coffee shop and work in a coffee shop so that you're surrounded by people again. And then do little baby practices. The next time you go out, you smile at somebody or you say hi to them or you ask them how their day is. So it's about building little baby steps across the bridge until you start feeling confident in yourself.
Okay. Someone asked, how do the different traditional roles of males and females in relationships affect online dating?
I actually did some research on this because Match.com did a study that said 80%, wait a minute, I think it's 90%. You're going to have to Google this, but I think it's 90% of men do not mind when women write them. And so when I work with my clients online, we actually go out and we search keywords. Like if my client likes reading or that my client is, wanting someone compassionate, we'll put those keywords in and then we will actually search out, the men that are available on there, and then we'll like them and we'll write them. And it's been shown that people, women that actually don't worry about the gender roles, that take more of assertive action, tend to attract more high quality partners online and people that they're attracted to. So I say throw out the gender roles with the online dating. Once you meet in person, then the process of courtship can happen naturally, right? And we all know what that looks like. So, most of us do. And if you have a question, let me know.
Okay. So we had a few questions around boundaries and sex, or when to have sex. And I know you had said, it took you perhaps 5 times. Someone said they were in a program and a program advised to go on 13 dates before becoming intimate. Some people said they're not ready that early on. Some are ready a lot earlier than others. So how do you gauge that, other than being, obviously you have to be comfortable with the person, but how do you know when an appropriate time is to become intimate that wouldn't necessarily harm your relationship?
Well, It took longer than 5 times. 5 times to just come to my house.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, it's okay.
Sorry about that.
I actually believe, when I'm sharing this 90 days, okay, because I'll be honest with my own story. I would jump into bed very quickly because I wanted that that dopamine hit. I wanted that connection. And I would always find out later it would unravel, right? So my way of doing things differently was, okay, I would tell the person by the third date, I was like, listen, I really am enjoying my time with you. I'm not trying to play hard to get here. I want to be honest. I get emotionally attached when I am intimate with someone, and I don't want to get my heart broken. And I'm not playing games, but I want to date somebody, really get to know them, and not be intimate until I'm exclusive with them. And that could take, several months, for me to get to know someone. And if you're okay with dating someone like me, I would be happy to date you because I really am enjoying my time getting to know you. And I will tell you, it acted as a filtering system. I was dating about 5 people at the same time, right? And I set that to all 5 of them and knocked out 3. And there was only 2 left from that group. And one of them ended up being my husband, right? So it's okay for you to assert your boundaries and share what you feel and need in terms of sex. You do not have to go along with what anyone says until you feel that this person feels good enough, safe enough that you can trust that even if you have sex with them, the next day they're going to show up for you and still be a good person and a good partner, right? So I want you to come from that mindset, not when to have sex. It's more of, am I ready to have sex with this person? Am I ready to engage in this intimate relation with this person? And how will it emotionally affect me? Are they safe enough to trust?
Yeah. That's a great answer. A social worker wrote, I tend to attract people who want to be healed and end up approaching me more as a parent figure than an equal partner. I understand I'm a social worker and I might give off this vibe, but my ADHD people-pleasing brain is so tired of this pattern. What are some practical ways to break out of it?
That's beautiful that you recognize it. And many therapists and people that I work with in social work, you have a lot of empathy, and the problem is it could actually invite some trauma dumping too. So we want to find somebody and pay attention to people that actually have good boundaries when they're sharing. And trauma dumping can feel so good. It feels like vulnerability, right? It feels like a connection. However, it's not, right? It's a level of oversharing too. And we need to create boundaries around that. So the key is, when you see this behavior, it is a red flag for you. You need to pay attention to how someone engages you with vulnerability. Is it back and forth like a ping pong where they're supporting you too? So when you look at these relationships, are you receiving as much as you're giving? And if you're not and you're giving more, then that's a red flag for you to step away and say no to this relationship.
Okay. Quite a few people asked about dating apps. Are there dating apps that you recommend for people who are neurodivergent, or alternatively, or by contrast, apps to stay away from?
Yeah, when I look at dating apps, I look at dating apps that allow you to have freedom of choice, right? So one of my favorite dating apps, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like this app, Match.com, right? A lot of my clients go on there, and it's not knowing that you have ADHD, right? And knowing that they gamify some of these apps. Match is much slower, and it allows you to be more intentional. It allows you to put in keywords and search out people, and you're not getting like 100 people in your inbox. You're getting a few people, and it might feel different from the, getting, when you're used to getting so many messages, but you're getting quality over quantity. And that's really important. So I really like Match. Hinge is known for relationships too. However, like I said, it is like an app. So it feels like you're text messaging, and it's very quick, and it doesn't create as much depth to me as somebody like on Match.com. And Bumble does really well as well in terms of subscribers. They have a lot of people. So I would say the top three for me are Match, Hinge, and Bumble.
Okay. A mom asked, how would you advise your 17-year-old son who tends to be a love bomber? How can I guide him to not be one?
Yeah. So this is where you pull back and you ask them, your son, how can he engage people based on screening them for their character, screening them for their values, building a more intimate emotional connection rather than, people pleasing and trying to win somebody over, right? So it's about shifting how you attract someone. If you can switch him from being the chooser and him actually screening them and seeing who their character is, their values, he's going to come from a much more genuine, authentic place automatically. People pleasing and wanting to win someone over is just a trait that you have when you're love bombing. So it's about controlling those impulses and allowing him to create more depth with the person.
Okay. If you're the one who needs to walk away from a connection, how do you do that? I have rejection sensitivity, and that can make rejecting others feel cruel. How can I overcome this emotionally?
Can you ask? I'm sorry, I didn't miss the question.
So the person is very sensitive to rejection, and
Okay.
he knows how it feels. So when he has to reject someone because that person isn't a match, how can he do it in a way that doesn't make him feel so terrible because he knows how much it hurts?
Yeah, I understand. And, the statement that I said earlier is like, treat somebody the way you want to be treated, right? And so imagine, and you could write this down, you can journal this, how, when somebody is breaking up with you, how can they break up with you in a way that's compassionate, kind, thoughtful, and empathetic, right? And take that same experience once you've written it down and you've processed it, and take that same experience and use that to help you break up with the other person. And also be absolutely self-compassionate during this time, because I know it feels painful to hurt other people's feelings. However, it's very compassionate of you to be direct and assertive to end things rather than ghost someone. So know that that's actually good quality that you're conveying to the other person.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, that has to be the last question because we are out of time. But thank you so much, Amie, for joining us today and for sharing your expertise with our ADHD community. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad I got to support everyone and help everyone.
Yes. And thank you to today's listeners. If you would like to access the event resources, visit ADDitudemag.com and search podcast 528. The slides and recording are posted a few hours after each live webinar. If you're listening in replay mode, simply click on the episode description. Please know that our full library of ADDitude webinars is available as a podcast. It's called the ADHD Experts podcast, and it's available on most streaming platforms. We hope to see you again next week for a free webinar on school performance and how to handle disappointing grades. Make sure you don't miss future ADDitude webinars, articles, or research updates by signing up to receive our free email newsletters at ADDitudemag.com/newsletters. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.